Well, for more perspective on the U.S. presidential election, we are joined by Fred Oladeinde, president of the Foundation for Democracy in Africa. Fred, welcome to In Focus.
Thank you very much, Vincent.
Yeah. Now let's start with that, from that point of the battleground states. It's being said that the race is very tight and it might be determined by the battleground states. What are these battleground states? The
battleground states include here Virginia, which is about the closest that we have, and that's why we've been privileged to a lot of the advertisement and commercial from both of the two candidates. Then we have Ohio, which, as you know, both candidates have crisscrossed Ohio several times. And Ohio has 18 electoral votes. Some believe that Ohio is almost split into 5 different states on its own, and that it may end up being the toss-off state in this particular election. There is, of course, Florida, where there's 29 electoral votes. And if we go back to 2000, where Florida was actually the decider of that particular election, and now we have Colorado and Wisconsin.
Now, you know, for most of our viewers, they come from systems where it's a popular vote that determines that you get maybe 51%, you win, or some other arithmetics are done in terms of the states. What is the system here in the U.S., if you can make it a little simplified? What is the difference between the popular vote and the electoral vote?
You see, what we are seeing today in terms of citizens, qualified citizens going to the poll, is actually going in for the popular vote. But behind each of those candidates that are being voted for in each of the precincts, there are electors. And these electors represent each of those candidates in those different precincts where those votes are being casted. So as we conclude at the end of today, we'll be looking at popular vote, and we're going to be looking at the electoral vote. The first to get 270 electoral votes, according to the Constitution, will be the winner of this race.
For most of our viewers, maybe the question would be: is there a situation is there a situation where a person gets a popular vote in a particular state, but it doesn't get the electoral votes that are required for him to win?
Yes, and if some of us will remember the Bush-Gore competition of 2000, Vice President Bush had the popular vote, but President Bush, Vice President Gore had the popular vote, and President Bush, former President Bush then, had the electoral vote. So what we're looking at here now is who has the electoral vote. And it's going to be a long night. Some people are predicting, some think it's not going to be a very long night. But at the end of the night, we're looking for the first candidate that would get to that 270 electoral votes.
And now I know that you already voted. Did you do early voting, or you're voting today?
I am voting today.
But there are people who did early voting.
That's
a little
correct.
bit, clarity here. How is it that people can vote early?
It's simply because the voters' registration, it's already in place. And if you elect to vote early, there are certain areas that they have all of the information, and if you're a qualified voter, you go in, identify yourself, and you'll be able to cast your early votes. And those will be counted, and we've seen a lot of early votes now that has been in Florida. I think we've seen a lot also that is taking place in Ohio, and even here in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Because if you know, this is the only process where the District of Columbia is considered as a state. The 23rd Amendment gives the District of Columbia 3 electoral votes. And at the end of tonight, we would know who will get those 3 electoral votes.
Exactly. Now, because the race is so tight, let's paint a scenario where there is a tie in the popular vote, for example. What happens?
If there's a tie in the popular vote, as long as there's not a tie in the electoral vote, we will still have a winner. I think the key here is going to be the electoral vote.
If there's a tie in both?
If there's a tie in the electoral vote, I think there is a process that would unfold. And that process would unfold as quickly as tomorrow, and it would include trying to see if there are any other votes that has to be brought to the table to break the tie. And if that doesn't happen, then the Electoral College will send all of the results. And I think to the certificate of ascertainment will be sent from the Electoral College from each of the states, including the District of Columbia, to Congress. And then Congress may have to decide who will be the next president of the United States if we come to such a situation.
And that is even before it goes to the Supreme Court, for example. If there's no dispute there, then...
If there are no disputes, and that is why we would look at all of the other different situations that could allow those ties to be put in place so that we have a winner. If we do not, and if the certificate of ascertainment and the certificate of vote from each of the states that goes to the U.S. Congress shows that there is a tie, then we're looking at the president. There will be a joint session of Congress, and the president of the Senate would then have to use the necessary procedure in place to bring to us all who the next president of the United States will be.
Thank you very much. I mean, it sounds really interesting. A little intricate, but it works, and we end it right there. Thanks a lot, Fred. Fred Oladeinde is president of the Foundation for Democracy in Africa. Thanks.